So that was always a huge problem for companies, and I think still is to this day. I mean, maybe you can validate that, Nick, because you can create content. You can, if you know the keyword, you can put that in the title and the name of the page. But then, okay, like we need 10 higher authority backlinks to our website. Like, how do you get those?
Tom Casano, how you doing?
Good. I'm psyched to be here, Nick. Ian?
We are really excited to have you. So welcome to the Growth Asylum. One of the things we love doing here is telling growth stories, particularly from a founder perspective. So people who don't know who you are, Tom, could you give us a little background?
Yeah, of course. Well, I founded Sure back in the day. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but it was 2017 or so. And yeah, I was going hardcore on SEO during those days from my previous startup. But yeah, Sure has been a wonderful journey and a great culture. And I'm really happy to have, you stewarding it, Nick, and leading it forward. It's been really wonderful.
That's really cool. So, I was wondering, just going back to that whole story of founding Shiro 7 years ago, and obviously how it's grown today. Um, more than well, actually, what was the initial like? Did marketing find you, or did you find marketing? Because you have a really interesting way, the way you got into it from I just knowing you over the past couple of years.
Yeah, marketing, I think it finds me, honestly. I have like varied interests and I love all kinds of things, but back in 2014, I had created a website for lead generation for life coaches. And so anyone can make a website, even back then, right? WordPress, that sort of thing. But once you have the website, you have like no one coming to it. And that's always like the problem for me and for, everyone starting up, or even as you're getting rolling, if you have traffic, you want more traffic. So I tried a bunch of different things, and I was gonna try doing paid, traffic, paid media, but it just seemed too expensive because it was a very B2C business. I think leads I could only sell for like $40, $50, and I thought it would be paying too much to acquire the traffic to get the leads. So I was going organic, and I was trying to do SEO, and I was banging my head against the wall for a couple of years. And I was consuming so much of Rand Fishkin's Whiteboard Fridays, and SEMrush had some content out there, and I was just like trying everything. I was trying to hire people, I was trying to do it myself, and eventually I came to realize that I had gotten so much better at SEO, and there was so much more value because if I could apply what I knew to a business that was already at 7 figures of revenue or 8 figures of, you know what I mean? There's so much more upside than me trying to grow my little tiny. At some point, I was making like $500 a month, and then I was making like $1,000 a month, and I was like, I think I need to just help other people with
It's like the
bigger
gold rush.
opportunities.
I think I'll be better if I sell some pickaxes and
Yeah,
some pans, and then I'd maybe not painting for gold's going to be where this is at.
exactly. Yeah. So it's just the opportunity was there, and it made a lot of sense.
Well, how did you get started? Because you have like this cool like Upwork story. Like you built like this agency on there, and I think that's inspiring for people. Like, hey, where do I start with my service or my startup? Like, how do I even get clients? That was very low hanging fruit from you. I know there's issues with that, but like, how did you even like establish yourself as, hey, I did this website, I got track record, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's very counterintuitive because when I started learning about Upwork, it was for outsourcing, right? You can hire people for whatever, $5, $10 an hour overseas to do things for you. So I was always using it for outsourcing whatever I needed. And then I don't know, maybe I was trying to hire like a strategist or a consultant or something at a higher rate. I was like, I just want someone really good. I'll pay him $50 an hour, that sort of thing. I don't know why or how, but eventually I created my profile, and it's really interesting because there is demand there of people looking for services, not just SEO, I mean, just everything. And, it's grown, it's gotten competitive, but there's still to this day, there's demand. And so, I started as a consultant, I started as a freelancer. I'm going to help you. We're going to, and I think I was starting with link building because
Mm.
at that time, I don't know how things have evolved to today because I'm not as in touch with SEO, but like the .edus and the scholarship, like that basically had taken that little life coach lead generation website from like 5,000 visitors a month to like 25,000 in like the course of a month or two. And it was a real skyrocket, and it became like a case study for me. But it was because I had done the content. I'd created like 10,000 words of content. I think that's what it was. Or no, it must have been more than that. It was like some of these guides that were like the long form, like 3,000 word, 5,000 word guides on. So I'd done the optimization and the content. But the link building, that's, a big struggle. So yeah, the .edus at that time were a huge impact. So I was like, I gotta help these other businesses grow their traffic. So I started selling that. And I got a first couple client or two, and you start out, you're lower price, you're just trying to build some credibility, some good reviews, right? So I don't know if I was charging like $40 an hour, $50. Nothing, I wasn't like killing it at all. But you start to build up some momentum. And then when I was doing some link building for some clients, I looked at their website and I was like, oh my God, like there's no content here, there's no keyword optimization. Then I'm like sort of pulled in, like, all right, like how could I build all these links and you just don't even have like an optimized page with some words on it. So then I started doing some of that, and then over time, you start to like stack up different clients and stuff, and then as you do that, I started to go back to the other side of Upwork and find people to help me with some of the optimization, some of the content writing, some of the link building, and so Upwork was really helpful until they have a strict policy, so you're supposed to only
Yes.
work through them. And once you break that, then they don't really want you taking clients or working with them directly. So that lasted for some time, but it was good while it lasted. It really got things up. Sure, got started off Upwork.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, I mean, eventually you had to leave Upwork and be a real
It's
agency,
true.
right? So it totally makes
It
sense.
is
But like
limiting at
really,
some point. Yeah, like the project sizes are small. You're never gonna get that big there.
and you're giving half your profit away to
Yeah, yeah.
so
Not a long term.
yeah, but it's a great starting point. I think that's just really inspiring for people. Just start looking for work where work is. One of the other things that I really love about Sure Oak is that we are so differentiated on the off page work that we do, whether that's link building, digital PR. You made that differentiation really early. And then in terms of people who don't understand like what off page authority is, could you just give us a quick rundown on that?
Yeah, basically, the way I was looking at it during that time period, and things have been evolving, but there was basically like three main things that I would say like, a website or a company needs to get their organic traffic going. One was great content. Two
Mhm.
was the keyword research optimization, like you have to have that stuff. And three was the link building. And so you have direct control over your website. You can, if you know how, and that's the problem. Like a lot of people wouldn't know how to do the keyword research, right? And that's where Sherlock helps. Like we know
Sure.
exactly which keywords, and we could optimize for multiple keywords, long tail keywords within one piece of content. We know how the content has to be in the H. There's always like nuances in these. You know how the rabbit hole goes, Nick,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
basically, yeah. So, but the link building would always throw people off because one, they didn't know about it or realize it, and two, no one would know how to do it. And so there was always this great opportunity because it was one of those things that like people could not really do on their own. Even to this day, if I try to do link building, I start scratching my head. I'm like, okay, I got to find some websites that I have to reach out to. And then I have to like think of what I'm going to say when I reach out to them. And then like, why are they going to give me a link? And, as things have evolved over the last decade or two, it's, webmasters or website owners can get flooded with requests or things that come off spammy or don't feel like
Yeah.
valuable. So that was always a huge problem for companies. And I think still is to this day. I mean, maybe you can validate that, Nick, because you can create content. You can, if you know the keyword, you can put that in the title and the name of the page. But then, okay, like we need 10 higher authority backlinks to our website. Like, how do you get those? And then people would just couldn't do it. And still to this day, it's hard.
Yeah, no, to your point, I always come back to the search engine result page. Where are you on that? So there is a conversation happening on the internet, and either you're 1 through 3 organically or 1 or 2 paid, or you're not in the conversation. And how do you get in the conversations? Well, if the internet's talking about you, then you're going to be linked on all these external websites. So why wouldn't you be on those websites either as a link, as a guest post, as some kind of digital PR? Why aren't you reaching out to them to have that conversation? It makes perfect sense. And that's why it's such a big part of the algorithm. So I don't, you know, that's the way I explain it to people. I don't know if that's the way that you view it too. Ian, you probably have an opinion on this too, but Ian's more paid. He's like, just put
I'm
me on the top of the line. Yeah,
yeah,
just
I'm the paid guy here, so I'm just listening to all the SEO
you,
and
you just want
I'm
to cut
just
the line.
yeah, I'm like, oh well, it's different now, but it's interesting to hear how it started. All the link building that you were doing before obviously makes sense, and now obviously it's still like super important. But yeah, I mean, Tom, I was gonna ask, like SEO wise, do you think you jumped on that trend early, or do you think SEO had been around for a while? like
You
before you
know, it's
started?
so funny. I was thinking about this before we started recording because I remember in 2017, 2018, it'd be, me and like two people, like little baby Shurok, like getting going. Like, here we go. We're gonna like, get some clients and grow the, and I'd be up against these, SEO agencies that are around since like 2003 and had like
Mm,
200 people. I was like, oh my God, like I'm so late to the game, but it's all relative, right? You could say that today too, because things mature and evolve, and over the years they get much more competitive or saturated to a degree, but it's all relative. And I guess 2017, 2018 wasn't late to the game, and 2024 still isn't late to the game. There's still opportunities. There's still plenty of people who want more organic traffic. I remember talking to people, I forgot what search engines they were even optimizing, right? Because there was a guy who had been doing it since like 1999, and he was optimizing for like, I don't know if it's Alta Vista or Excite or one of those like other crazy
Yeah,
things. But to
before
give people,
Yahoo.
yeah, right, Yahoo, yeah. And to give people context on the link building, when Larry Page and Sergey Brin created the algorithm, which was, so much better than the other search engines, it was based on this idea when you're in academia and you have a paper and you publish your academic paper, you're citing the other studies that were important that you're drawing upon. And so those citations are how they were thinking about the web and the value of backlinks back in that period in the 90s, because for the Google founders, they realized that if a lot of people are citing the same sources, if they're citing the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or whatever, it's probably a pretty trustworthy and authoritative source. And if other trustworthy, sources are citing trustworthy, you believe it more, because there was a whole huge problem of spam back then. And it's funny because
Yeah.
nowadays, like, you don't really see it. Like, there was that whole idea of like keyword stuffing, and that was before my time, but you'd hear stories like, oh, you just put white text on a white background and just put the keyword in like 100 times and then your page will rank at so there was real spam problems back then. But that's why, link building and, like you mentioned, Nick, like PR or what would you call it? It's like credibility or like social proof of others pointing to you. Um, that, yeah, it's so important for Google to say, like, we trust this website and we trust showing this to our users because they care about the users so much.
Yeah. Hey, we can shift back to your story a little bit. Like you got Shuruk going and you had a number of clients. And then one day you decided to fire yourself and you hired Kim to be your CEO. Could you walk through that decision making and why that was good for you personally, I'm sure, but was good for the agency? Because Kim, obviously, Kim Malello, you don't know her. She's awesome. Look her up. But she took things to another level too with you. And you guys had a really good partnership. Could you tell that story?
Yeah, Kim is the best, and I feel so lucky to have found her. I had always had this thing from when I was like graduating college and supposed to be entering the real world. Like, I never really wanted to work, and I was like battling against this for all that time since college graduation up to this point, because I was trying to figure out like, how do I get myself retired or just have, passive income of, I don't know, some bonds or equities or something like paying me money over time. So you, Nick, probably know how it worked maybe better for the agency without me there, because, I wasn't there. But, I saw like the performance and the company was doing well. But from the outset, I had always had the goal and the hope that I want someone else to manage this basically autonomous organization or system. And I've read some entrepreneurial books. There's the E-Myth is one. Traction is another big one by Gino Wickman. And there's a few others that aren't coming to mind now, but it's really cool to think how a business can be a self-operating, self-organized entity. But some of the biggest challenges I think are, well, for me, because this was my first time like doing this and I didn't really know exactly. So it's kind of easier for me to hire like the sort of more junior, people who are like newer, haven't been working that long. But as you try to find someone who's like more of a senior leader and can do all these things, and it's weird because the skill set required, as you know, Nick, is like all over the place, right? You got to be
Oh,
good
yeah.
with people, you have to be good with sales, you have to be good with, I mean, in this case, like SEO, you have to like know what you're talking about and that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. So I was really fortunate to find Kim, and yeah, it was a good fit, and she's an amazing people person. She didn't
Yes.
actually have as much SEO background, but it didn't matter because we had enough expertise in house that it's more about let the experts do what they're doing, and it's just managing and sales and keeping clients happy and delivering for them. And so, yeah, we were aligned from the beginning there, and I was just pleasantly surprised because that was the most terrifying part for me, was you build up this baby and then you just have to like let go to the point where like this, So, but it was a gradual process, and I had worked at briefly. I consulted with another company, and they had this approach that they started trusting people like 100% from day one, and then you could like
Mm,
lose trust over time, and it whittles down. And I realized what I was doing at that time was I started with like zero trust, and then over time, like I let Kim run a meeting, or I eventually when I like was not in like the weekly like managers meeting. I was like kind of, sweating and terrified. And then I'd like ping somebody on Slack, like, hey, Lauren, how was that meeting? How'd it go? And she's like, it was great. It was fine. Everything's good. And then I realized after a week or two, like nothing was broken and the company wasn't, burning into flames. I realized like, oh, I could really trust her. She's really good. And so, and you as well, Nick. I mean, I feel like you and her have a lot of the same leadership capabilities and styles and good with people and inspiring. There's
mm.
an element of it that has almost nothing to do with SEO and business and more just about like having a good heart, caring about people, valuing culture and people's well-being. And people feel that all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even like I think this. I don't know. This is coming off the Gino Wickman book. What's that one? Is Traction, and then what's the other? Oh, Rocket Fuel, where he talks about the visionary and the implementer. Kim's probably one of those rare people that could probably do both. But she really took your vision and really ran with it. And the other story I wanted to talk about, because I know SureOak actually grew through COVID, but I know that wasn't easy. That was a big pivot. And I know you and Kim worked really hard together. It's like, hey, how do we keep this alive? Because we had big plans. We're moving in, we're at 70 clients, we're going to 200. This is where it's going. But now the world's just kind of changed on us. Is there any like lessons learned through COVID or hard times for any company, not just an agency?
Yeah, it's really easy to look back with like, what's the word, like rose-tinted glasses, or just be all nostalgic. It was so great. But when you're in the thick of it, it really sucks. And people, I talked to this like with my wife and other people. It's like people think like startups and entrepreneurship is so sexy and glamorous. And when you're in it, it's kind of miserable. I mean, it has huge, payoffs, but like the price you pay, right? Like your employees are not staying up to 1 in the morning. They're not like losing sleep because of whatever happened the course of this week. And so there was a lot of that. Even for Kim, she's very positive and but there are moments she'd be like, Tom, I'm feeling really discouraged. And be like, oh, let's talk about it. But I also myself would feel discouraged, right? There'd be periods where we would not be growing or would be like losing clients and business. And yeah, COVID was a tough time. I remember very vividly. Like I was starting to panic at some point because I think we lost, I want to say like 30 or 40% of all of our revenue and clients like in 2 months. And I'd never seen that before. And and some of it was interesting because looking back on it, it was like some of the clients were like, oh, this one was in like the travel industry and travel was like shut down. It's kind of like in-person things. But I don't know how we somehow just, I guess they, it's kind of like the clients that were most affected. And then also there was the PPP, right? And that was a big deal at the time. And
Yes.
so the government helped like keep small businesses afloat, and that was great. But yeah, I mean, it's what's this? Is it two steps forward and one step back? But
Yeah.
some months it'd be like one step forward and two steps back. Like we'd have a new client coming on board, and we just lost two clients, and you just never know what's around the corner. So it's challenging, man. People who are not like managing or owning or starting a business, they just, and it's nice, and that's the trade-off, right? If you're an employee, you get stability, you get a regular paycheck, you sleep well at night every night. Like you don't worry about those things.
Yep, that is true. It is. I know Tom Brady got made fun of for the comment, but he said comment like his first comment, like when he was the color commentator for the NFL. He goes, "Do you know how hard it is to get 10 yards in the NFL?" And like people laughed at him, made fun of him, but like I felt that. Like, do you know how hard it is to run a company, to get to have product market fit, to get us to build a service that people want? I just, yeah, it is not glamorous, and I love it. All of these, what's the name of the founder of NVIDIA?
Oh yeah.
It's just terrible podcast, so we don't know. We're not even prepared. But like it's not, which is normal for us, which is fine. But he said, "Would you
Jensen
recommend
Huang.
any?" Jensen Wang, thank you,
I googled it.
thank you, thank you, Google. You keep us all in business. Um, but someone asked him, "Hey, would you recommend someone being an entrepreneur?" And he says, "Only if you have to." And it wasn't like a negative statement. It was like, do you have it in your DNA? Can you not afford to work for somebody else? Do you have like this burning desire in you that to go create something? And I thought that was really insightful. And I appreciated that because you will suffer the cash flow, the people problems. I mean, most of our problems as a company and growth are mostly people related. Technically, we're always going to be fine. It's always just executing on the customer, the people side. Which actually I wanted to talk to you about like the next piece, just like the people part of it was you do a lot of consulting now, just for not just marketing, but like all things digital or technology. But you work with a lot of SaaS founders. Do you have any like yeah, you walk in day one, you're sitting with the guy looking for product market fit or whatever it is. Any like common problems that you see? Like, what are they always complaining to you about? Or help me fix this.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it as any business. Like, yeah, let's talk, we can talk about like SaaS businesses.
Mhm.
They, the high level problems they want to grow. They want to grow revenue. They want the company to grow and make more money, right? So that's like, there you have to start with like the revenue level, which is kind of sales, right? So, and the problem sales has is basically they don't have enough like pipeline or leads coming in or interest. And you can go
Right.
one step before that, and then with SEO, it's traffic, or if it's social media, maybe it's like brand awareness or people like coming to the website or knowing what you do. So it just goes all the way up, like the marketing in any form, digital marketing, even like offline marketing. People still go to events, and there's all kinds of I don't know, interesting ways you can still market nowadays that are not even necessarily digital, but it goes all the way up into sales, into revenue, into the company growth. So I still see that as the main sort of problem. But that's not really specific, Nick. I don't know if I'm really answering your
No,
question
that's really
or
good because I think, in Ian and I's experience, we both worked together at a venture studio,
yeah.
and the CEO is always, hey, let's get a salesperson on here and let's do some marketing, let's pay for some ads. And, Ian, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. We're like, yeah, nobody likes this product. We can
Yeah.
talk about it all you
Oh, you
want.
mean product market fit for the company?
Well, no, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, but I mean, that's just it. I mean, there's just always this impetus. It's like they fall so in love with the product, like let's go spend a bunch of money on marketing or let's start writing a bunch of content. And Ian and I were always like, well, what do you do? Like, what's the big problem you solve? And like, give us your elevator pitch. And then like 20 minutes later, they finish the pitch. You're like, I can't market that. I mean, that's very hard to see. So like, there is this balance. Like, I want more leads. It's like any
I see
engagement
what
when you
you're
come to. I
saying.
want
You're
more
talking
lead
about for that company's product market fit
for
itself.
just
Yeah, no, and you're
anything.
right. Like, yeah, if the product market fit is there, or, there's also an element of they have to know sort of like who they're targeting and what is the value proposition, all those things. And it's vice versa, right? You also find companies that have a great product, but they just can't even articulate it or put it in words to
Exactly.
get. So yeah, it's both. But yeah, you can't fix a marketer cannot fix the problem of nobody wants your thing. And I've been a victim of that myself. I had created a VR startup that like nobody wanted. Like, oh, the metaverse is gonna be great. Everyone's talking about it. Put on your headset, and it's just
Of
like,
course.
it was terrible. Like I wasted a lot of time and money just
Yeah.
not realizing that there was like zero product market fit.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
not alone, buddy.
Yeah, it's like I had this general rule of if you have to be able to sell it to one person first in like a one-on-one manner, and they have to understand it and completely want it before you can even begin to think like, oh, let's do one to many, let's run ads here. Like if you can't even get one person to buy it, then like you're not gonna be able to sell it through a literal advertisement online.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
100%
Think
true.
about that.
I think it takes discipline too to do that, right? Because it's really easy to get like wishful thinking or like, oh, I would love this. Like I'm solving my own itch. But you're right. Ian, if like no one is willing to pay you money, if you can't get one person to pay you any money for what you're offering, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I used to have this whole thing of like follow your passion versus and do what you love. It's, in a perfect world, what you love doing makes you a ton of money, right? But what I would love doing is like playing music, and like no one was paying me for that. And then I went into like finance, and then I went to, this. But like again, I was in the VR world, I was trying to do what I loved, and then I realized like I gotta solve someone's problem, or I have to create value for them, because it's about service, right? It's not about like hopefully you don't hate what you're doing or like you enjoy it. But there is an same with product market fit, right? So it has to really help them for what they want, and if not, maybe we're just creating a product or a service for ourselves, but it's not really what people want,
That's awesome. That's really awesome. All right,
Yeah.
so we're coming up on some time here. So I was going to try something new on the podcast, Ian. So you're welcome.
Oh, awesome.
We're going to do the fast 5 questions, Tom. So you don't have to go into too much detail, but if you do, we won't punish you. Okay, so 5 questions. Will AI replace all SEO experts?
I think it will replace a lot of things, but maybe that's in like a decade or two.
Got it. Will Google still be dominant as the search engine of choice in 3 years?
3 years, yes.
3 years, yes. What do you think?
10,
When do you
10,
think it's
no.
going to fall off?
I
10,
don't
no.
know. Nobody knows.
5.
Have you ever seen one of those things where they say the SEO is dead and it's like 2006, SEO is
Totally.
dead for this in 2010. So hasn't died. It's like survived
Yeah.
many deaths, but maybe it's a matter of when, not
Yeah.
if. But maybe it's 2040 or 2030. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there'll be SEO experts. They'll just be different.
Yeah.
They'll just be different. They'll be AI enabled, or everything AI will be in every stack. But it is. I think the news of SEO or anything digital marketing's death is just purely rumor at this point.
Well, that's something maybe you could pivot into that. Like, you have
Totally.
a lot of proprietary data and knowledge. You could sell that expertise as a AI service.
Yeah. My position as a digital marketing agency is that we are technology aggregators at the end of the day, right? And so our job is to force multiply chief marketing officers' lack of tech, or tech that's too expensive they can't purchase on their own, that we can give to them as a service, and to be experts on like, hey, where is the puck going? So anyway, that was not one of the fast questions, but that was actually good. That was really good. Okay, technology you can't live without.
AirPods?
AirPods. And a software that you like the best?
ChatGPT is one of them.
ChatGPT, yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. Favorite marketing book?
Oh, marketing book.
Or any book. The next question is any book. So
yeah, well, Traction is probably the best business book I would put. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about eMyth? You mentioned that earlier. What'd you like about that?
That one too. It's a little long-winded in the beginning, but that one, the guy really gives you clarity on like you're working in the business, doing the actual work, and then you're managing people doing the work, and then you're like owning or leading So it's really great as an entrepreneur because I talk to entrepreneurs all the time and they're like doing the work and they're never going to scale the business if they're always doing it.
Wow, that's awesome. That's cool. That's Gerber, right? Is that who wrote that?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
He wears like a white hat and a white, there's some picture of him. He's in like this like big white hat with his white suit. And I'm like, who is this mysterious guy?
Oh, that sounds like Tom Wolfe or something. That's funny. That's great. Tom, man, thank you so much for doing this. Anything else you wanted to talk about? How can people find you?
Yeah,
because I know you're doing some consulting. Yeah,
yeah,
LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, I don't know, people can find me anywhere they want. But Nick, I'm really excited and really thrilled to that you're running Sure, you're leading the charge and growing things, and I'm so excited to have you. You're such a great guy, and people can really feel that and sense that, and I'm just really thrilled, man. I'm really grateful that you're leading things. So thanks so much for doing it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Taking over for you and Kim, like over a year ago, 14 months ago, was like walking into a culture that was positive, that, it was largely SEO with some paid media, and we did some website building, a lot of things, but like there was a real foundational technical experience there. And even though we're boutique, like, all of our leads are organic or referral. And like, that feels really good, like to keep growing through what was like a really bad last quarter for marketers. Right. So, thank you. I mean, I think foundationally, taking over something like that, it was big shoes to fill, but it was great. It was a really good group of people. So thank you. Awesome. All right. That's it. So everyone, be blessed, be nicer to each other, be more patient with each other, and have a great day.